Bills cling to a 7-3 lead. They have failed to capitalize on 2 turnovers and other good situations. They missed the field goal attempt on a bad snap, yet they lead. Tom Landry and the Cowboys 7-3. First and 10 Bills on the 29-yard line. Greg Bell into the line and gets almost 5 yards on the play. The center on the club is Will Grant. He is a 5th-year player, and yesterday you were watching a water bucket used by the Bills.
Yeah, I went over to see Ferguson and also Will Grant in their new indoor facility, and here this big bucket of water was in front of the center. I thought maybe he had some bait in there and was going to go fishing. But anyway, what he was doing, he was dunking the ball in the water so that they would get the experience of using a wet ball in case it rained or snowed here this afternoon. And they did it for about 15 minutes, and it's a very good drill.
Second down and 6 after 33. Bell again. Bell picks up maybe a yard. Ed Jones making the tackle. That must be the best way to practice for inclement weather, something that they have a lot of here.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they have the indoor facility. Had they tried to do it outside, they'd have been working with ice.
And people say, why don't they work outside if the conditions are going to be that way? But I guess that's not really feasible.
Well, no, you really don't get the concentration and the execution that you do when it's inside. They work a lot better, and you get a lot more done from an overall standpoint than you do when you work outside in the cold, inclement weather.
Third down and 4 at the 35. The 4-0 defense is in there for the Cowboys. With 5 minutes to go in the first half, Ferguson finds Riddick. Pass is complete and a first down, but a penalty marker has been thrown. So let's hold everything. Riddick coming out of the backfield and holding against the Buffalo Bills. Second time today. And that has been their nemesis from the first game on. So that'll nullify that first down.
Holding, number 65, Hoffman. Still third down.
Trying to block Randy White. And you have a tendency to do that, trying to block him. Tim Vogler, number 65 on Randy White. A lot of people try to hold him because he gets such great penetration.
Vogler, of course, from Ohio State, playing in place of Jim Richer, and his hands full against Randy White today. Anyone that plays White has his hands full. Third down and 14. Buffalo has 200 more yards and penalties this year than their opposition. Third and 14. Ferguson going up on top to Riddick, and it's tipped off, incomplete. Several Cowboys had a shot, including Thurman, but it was Bill Bates who deflected the ball.
That time the Cowboys faked the blitz with the 2 safety or 2 cornermen coming in, but they backed off, and the middle was wide open. You see Bates turning and running, man-for-man coverage with Riddick down the field, but the ball was thrown just a little bit too late, Dick. That's what happened on the play, and for that reason it hit his shoulder pads and bounced right off.
Joe Ferguson has been struggling. Before his injury, he had 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Since then, 3 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. As John Kidd will be punting to Gary Allen again. Booming kick. Terrific kick. Sends Allen back inside his 20. And is hit at the 24. Good coverage by the Buffalo Bills. Stan David making the tackle. 53-yard kick by John Kidd. Well, don't forget, CBS Sports coverage of college basketball tips off next Saturday live, 1 o'clock Eastern. Louisville against Indiana, the first time teams coached by Denny Crum in Louisville and Bobby Knight of Indiana have faced each other.
That'll be quite a contest between these 2 great teams and 2 really great coaches.
And there's a fellow on Indiana named Delray Brooks, a much heralded freshman who's going to make his college debut in that ball game. You know about Steve Alford of Indiana, who's the Olympian. That's next Saturday. First and 10 Cowboys on the 25. 7-3 in favor of the Bills. Play action, Hogaboom screens it out to Dorsett. Romes had the first shot at Tony Dorsett, who carries it out to the 29-yard line. Chris Keating and Jim Haslett make the tackle on Dorsett.
And the Cowboys have really executed some very good screens in this game, and of course it's typical of what happens when a team uses so much zone defenses as the Buffalo Bills.
4 minutes and 10 seconds remain in the first half.
You know, the other thing, Dick, they're using so much zone and double zone. The middle is open with the pass or the run. For that reason, draws would be very effective up the middle.
An audible by Hogaboom on 2nd and 6. Rolling out, he saw something in the pass, almost picked off by Eugene Marv. Went right through his hands, and that could have been a dangerous situation for the Cowboys.
Fred Smerlas puts some pressure. He rolls to his right. Watch Smerlas get away from the block. It's a little late, but he gets penetration. It really doesn't have any effect on the play.
Fans have been kind of tough at times on the Bills, and Smerlas and Jim Haslett have a radio show, and they were thinking of changing the name to the Smerlas-Haslett Cheap Shot Hour. That's what they were getting from some of the fans this year.
Then they really would get some cheap shots.
James Jones in the game with Ron Springs. The pass is caught by Ron Springs out of the backfield, and a first down for the Cowboys on 3rd and 6 to the 41-yard line, a pickup of 12. He had 4 catches against the Cardinals. Springs did, including a touchdown.
But that's a soft spot of that area, right in the middle, and they weren't concerned about getting too much. They just wanted to make the first down, and they got it.
3:20. Tom Landry told us yesterday, the 3 good games the Cowboys have played, in his opinion, were against the Rams, the Bears, and last week against the Cardinals.
And he really kind of thought last week's game was the best game by far of all of them.
1st and 10, Hogaboom's pass is caught by Cosby, deep into Buffalo territory to the 36-yard line. Charles Romes on the tackle, and that was good for 23 yards.
Zone again that time, and the key really, no pass rush whatsoever. Look at all the time. It's a play-action fake and a pretty good one. They're pretty tight between the back and the quarterback. Got time enough to throw the ball. Cosby runs a crossing pattern, catches the ball way over near the hash mark, and picks up the necessary yardage for the first down.
2:34 in running. 1st and 10 at the Buffalo 36. 7-3 Bills, but they have squandered many opportunities in this first half. Dorsett. He had Kurt Peterson blocking, but Darryl Talley coming up strong. And Brian Carpenter had good penetration.
And Timmy Newsom really got an excellent block on the outside linebacker that time, Keating. But in spite of that, with a force on the outside, forced the tackle, and he didn't get nearly as much out of the play as it looked like he might when the play started.
So we have 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Our 2-minute warning is in effect. Buffalo leading Dallas 7-3, and the Cowboys trying to get closer. Keep in mind that the Dallas Cowboys have 2 timeouts remaining. Hogaboom had called one earlier in this quarter. It is 2nd down and 10 at the 35. 2 minutes to go in the half.
They still got a great opportunity for some kind of misdirection play somewhere along the line here, because Buffalo is really chasing.
Play action. Hogaboom intended. He had Cosby short and Hill long. Incomplete, and 3rd and 10.
And Ben Williams right in front of him that time, putting some pressure on him, which made him throw the ball before he actually wanted to.
The Bills' defense has been marked by no serious pressure on the quarterback all year. Only 17 sacks coming in, but it looks like a different defensive line today.
Yeah, they are doing a little bit better, but most of the time, why it's on the big play to Cosby, for example, there was no pass rush whatsoever.
Okay, 3rd down and 10. And you would think that this would be a play in which you would expect good rush.
But I think you're right, Dick. I think they have rushed the passer much better today than they have in most games that we've seen them this year.
On 3rd and 10, Hogaboom has time, completes his pass, and here is Renfro, has a first down inside the 15, and now the Cowboys in good position to try to score a touchdown. That was good for 22 yards, and Charles Romes made the play.
And Romes missed the tackle initially. Look at the stunts inside, trying to get to the quarterback. He throws the ball outside the Renfro. He makes a quick move to the outside. Romes misses the tackle. He goes down to the field and picks up more yardage on the play. Here you see it again. Watch him come off the ball. Watch Renfro make the catch. Watch the missed tackle by Rodney Bellinger, that was, number 36. And Romes finally makes the tackle downfield, number 26.
So Mike Renfro has caught 2 passes today after going 2 games without catching one. It is 1st and 10 at the 13 for Dallas. They're looking to take the lead. Hogaboom to the outside, complete to Ron Springs and out of bounds at the 10, a gain of 3. It stops the clock with 1:42. Chris Keating making the tackle. But the point you brought up moments ago, Hank, the pressure has indeed been good, but on the 2 passes, Cosby, the 23-yard gain, and Renfro, 22, they did not really put much pressure on Hogan.
Which means that it hasn't been consistent. That's the problem they've had all year long. It's been a stock market pass rush. It's been up and down and never consistent.
Renfro has established a career high for reception yardage, breaking his mark when he was with the Oilers in 1980. Timmy Newsom is in the lineup now, along with Dorsett. Hogaboom looking, being rushed. His pass is caught, touchdown, but a penalty marker is down. Doug Cosby for the touchdown, but let's wait. And it's apparently against the Cowboys. That would nullify the score. Bob McElwee will explain it.
Might have been pushing off. Let's see what they call.
Offensive pass interference, number 84.
It was Cosby, you're right, Hank, who pushed off, got free in the end zone, and now is explaining what he did to Gary Hogaboom.
Watch Cosby come off the ball now. See the push. There he is there, but you can't see a good shot of what he did. But evidently what he did, he pushed off the linebacker and then came to the inside, and that's why he was so open on the play. That happens a lot of the times, and it's good if you don't get caught, but that time he got caught.
So an offensive penalty nullifies a touchdown. Let's see how the Cowboys respond. It's 2nd down, 17, back to the 20. Cowboys go into their spread. Springs and James Jones, number 23, coming back from injury in there. Pressure on Hogaboom. He's going to run it. Penalty flag flies. Hogaboom at the 15 and hit hard at the 14. Clock stopped with 1:28. It was Rodney Bellinger and Darryl Talley going after Hogaboom with a vengeance.
And I think it's very evident that any time that you see a quarterback run, here it is.
Holding against Dallas, that'll bring back that game.
Anytime that the defensive coaches have an opportunity, when they're talking about their defensive players, when a quarterback takes off and run, if he's going to run, he's in a good position to hit, make sure you really give him a good shot and gang tackle. Do everything you can.
Holding, number 63, offense, still 2nd down.
Glenn Titans are.
That's about 3 for him, I think, isn't it?
He had a penalty on illegal procedure, then holding, and now he's called again for holding. The penalty picture is even. The Bills holding on to that 7-3 lead. You think that string is getting kind of worn down for the Bills at that lead?
They're hanging in there tough. They're playing hard.
They've had many opportunities to make it a much bigger cushion, but they couldn't do it. 2nd down and 27, back at the 30. Hogaboom wants to pick up a lot of chunky yardage. It's intercepted. Intercepted by Brian Carpenter, and the Bills get it back. Brian Carpenter, acquired from the Washington Redskins early this year. The 4th starting left cornerback on the Bills with his 3rd interception of the year.
Look at all the stunts up front, trying to get to the quarterback. He throws outside, over the top of the defensive back, trying to hit Hill. But Carpenter, number 30, has great anticipation and makes the interception. Here we see it again.
Pass was intended for Hill.
Watch Hill go down the field, break to the outside. It's a very deliberate break outside, which permitted Carpenter to anticipate the ball coming and made the interception. And now the Buffalo Bills have possession, 1st and 10.
And for Dallas, the 3rd turnover. 3rd turnover for Dallas. Pass is caught. Blake went on, and Byron Franklin on the receiving end picks up some yardage to the 28-yard line, a gain of about 4. The clock runs, nearly a minute to go. Bills have all 3 of their timeouts remaining. 2nd down and 6. The pass from Ferguson to Franklin. He'll get the 1st down, and his 2nd effort brings him to the 42. And now Buffalo wants to up their lead.
They got to call timeout.
And they do. Michael Downs and Dexter Clinkscale on the stop. And Tom Landry is not at all pleased with the Dallas Cowboy performance. He knows that the Cowboys are lucky to be trailing by only 7-3. Tom Landry agonizing a bit at the sideline. He told us yesterday he goes back to the 60s when he compares this year's club to another Dallas outfit that he's coached.
Yeah, I had to think a long time to remember when this team was in this kind of a situation during the regular season.
1st and 10 for the Bills on their own 42-yard line. They have 2 timeouts remaining. You saw 51 seconds on the clock. Joe Ferguson being chased by Randy White, and almost a dangerous pass. Mark Bramer and Dexter Clinkscale came close to getting a shot at picking that ball off.
You know, the thing they have to be thinking in terms of, you know, they got about 60 yards to go for a touchdown, but really they ought to be thinking in terms of going 30 or 35 just to get close enough, first of all, to get the field goal, and then whatever else they get after that is fine. But that's what they're thinking ought to be, to throw 2 15-yard passes to go 30 yards and get in there within range of kicking a field goal.
And one thing that's apparent is that neither quarterback is playing that well in the first half.
And the middle of the defense is wide open. If they can get the ball and get pass protection, something in the middle should be there.
Ferguson has really been struggling. Holcomb lately. 2nd down and 10 at the 42. 46 seconds to go. Pressured by the Cowboys. This pass is caught by Mark Bramer. Out of bounds. 1st down into Dallas territory to the 47. A gain of 10 yards. But it stops the clock. 40 seconds to go.
And they still have 2 timeouts. That time Preston Denard was wide open coming across the middle, but he threw outside, and there was a good choice, of course, but he had 2 choices, really, and the choice outside was good because he could stop the clock.
The Bills leading 7-3, but they've had other opportunities. A Dallas fumble, deflected punt, an interception, a bad snap on a field goal attempt, the 1st down nullified. All sorts of things have backfired. 1st and 10 at the 46 of Dallas.
The middle is still very vulnerable.
Ferguson chased away. And he can't get away from Jim Jeffcoat, who picks up a big play. First sack of the ball game for Jeffcoat, his 7th of the season. And a timeout is called. We want to remind you, Thursday, the special Thanksgiving Day edition of the NFL Today. Former Packer stars Willie Davis and Max McGee will be featured, both champions of the great Lombardi teams of the 60s. And they've gone on to become successful businessmen. This story much more Thanksgiving Day. And, of course, it'll be the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, 12 noon Eastern time, one of the great traditional rivalries in football history.
Well, they really have been terrific, and people all over the country kind of look forward to that game and have for a long time.
Oh, you go back to the days of Bobby Lane and the Lions, Tobin Rote of the Packers before Tobin Rote became a Lion. And, of course, a Thanksgiving Day, Packers and Lions always brings back the memory. Buffalo has 1 timeout remaining with 33 seconds on the clock. They'll have a 2nd down and 16 following the sack by Jeffcoat back in their own territory at their own 47.
Yeah, they have to try to get something in the middle, I think, between the hash marks. Dick, that area is open to where they're playing if they have time enough to throw the ball downfield that deep. If they can get it down about the 30-yard line, 25, 30, they're going to be in good shape to at least try a field goal.
Tom Landry's team, we've been talking about Buffalo's problems and mistakes they've made, but the Cowboys really, with 3 turnovers, a touchdown nullified by a penalty, have taken themselves out of a good part of this game. 2nd and 16. Ferguson has time up the middle of Mosley, and it's almost intercepted. Michael Downs had the best chance, and he has 4 interceptions, tied for the club lead, and thinking he could have had number 5 right there.
Down and away is not good. Down and across is the pattern that you have to throw here, Dick, because they've got a safety man. Look at this. He leaped very high in the air, almost made the interception, but there were too many people trying to go into the post, and that's why that ball was almost intercepted by Mike Downs, number 26. It's got to be down and in. If you're going to make the play inside, it's got to be a sharp turn inside into the open area, and that's the only chance you had. You can't throw it down and away.
3rd down and 16. Joe Ferguson continues to struggle, and the Bills have not had much success, as you can see, on 3rd down. 27 seconds showing in the first half. Don Smerrick putting pressure on Ferguson, who just throws the ball away. He had several people nearby, including some, well, I thought it was a lineman, but it was some of the special teams people ready to come on the field. Joe Ferguson is really unraveled in this first half, but his team is leading, and that's the main thing.
Victor Scott, number 22, really had great coverage on Byron Franklin that time, who did go over the middle, but he covered him very, very well. But the big thing really was that he didn't have time enough to throw the ball. The pass rush was too severe.
So John Kidd will punt again. Ferguson, by the way, has completed only 6 of 17 passes for 50 yards.
I got some news I didn't realize yesterday. John Kidd is the son of Max Kidd, who played at Purdue University when I was there. You must be a pretty old guy.
He gets off a good kick, and he has been a terrific punter. It goes out of bounds. 12 seconds will show on the clock. John Kidd been one of the bright spots in an otherwise dismal year for the Buffalo Bills. Well, coming up at halftime, the NFL Today, Brendan Irv with scores and highlights, and a close look at the physical specimen, Mark Gastineau, the great pass rusher of the New York Jets. 12 seconds remaining. The Bills scored on Greg Bell's 85-yard touchdown run, the very first play of the game, and that's the longest run in history against the Cowboys. Septien with a field goal early in the second to account for the Dallas points. That's where we've been. And Hogaboom is just going to let the clock run down. Well, I guess, Hank, you could say what might have been would tell a long story in this first half, but what is the Buffalo Bills leading the favored Dallas Cowboys 7-3.
And they're playing with a lot of animation, a lot of emotion, and we've touched on this. They blew a couple of opportunities with good field position to get more points on the board, but they didn't. The important thing is they're still winning 7-3.
And we'll be back with Brendan Company in the NFL Today.
A time when nobody asks the question, where's the beef? But today, all the emphasis is on bodybuilding and muscle tone. In fact, most NFL players now spend almost as much time in the weight room as they do on the practice field. They have learned the value of pumping iron.
Strength conditioning plays such a large role in shaping up the performance of NFL stars. But there is one star in the league who combines natural speed and strength with a conditioning program that is almost fanatical.
For Mark Gastineau of the Jets, hardly a day goes by when he doesn't feel the need for a lift.
Weight training is a must in the NFL today. If you don't lift during preseason, if you don't lift at least 4 months before the season, you're going to find yourself laying on your back by these big offensive tackles that are coming in.
Pumping iron has kept Gastineau off his back, but opposing quarterbacks have not been so fortunate. The leading sacker in the NFL has all the muscles he needs for the job. But the secret to his success is not the biceps so much as his speed. With the ability to run a 4.5 40, Mark Gastineau may be the fastest lineman ever.
If Mark Gastineau didn't have his legs, he wouldn't be the football player that he is. To be very powerful and very quick, you have to have good, strong legs.
Gastineau takes pride in his work, no question. And when he's at the top of his form, no quarterback is nimble enough to escape his grasp. But as much as he loves to make a sack, Mark is not driven by a desire to knock quarterbacks out of a game.
Quarterbacks are not all bad guys. You know, they're basically good guys. They don't want to get hurt. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't have the Lyle Alzado attitude of, wanting to kill somebody. That's just not me. If I can put a quarterback down, and I'm credited for a quarterback sack, and I've helped the team out, I've done my job, and I'm as happy as anybody could possibly be.
In his basement, you'll find $60,000 worth of weights, and they get plenty of work.
I don't think that there's anybody out there that doesn't want to look good. I got a little bit too consumed at first when I started looking good, when I could see my abdominal muscles, and I'm sure that my wife got sick of looking at me looking in the mirror. But to be 275, 280 pounds, you don't want to look sloppy.
Nor is Mark averse to showing off his body in public. But muscles are not just for show.
It's a very important factor in me being as good as I am. And for me to stay in the top bracket in the NFL and be as good as I am and perform like I am, I've got to keep doing it.
Herb, I think for a time that folks thought that Mark Gastineau might be an invention of the New York media, but that is certainly not the case.
Well, no, he's a great football player, but every player goes through some kind of weight training. But the difference today in weight training versus the old days is that every move you make is incorporated with your athletic movement. So Gastineau doing those forearm curls is doing that so he can deliver a real sharp blow to those offensive tackles.
Sounds good to me. Let me remind everybody, Irv, that with all the action cooking around the league right now, we're going to be back after the game you're watching, and we will have scores and highlights, and we'll take you to some live action if a good one's still cooking. But right now, let's send you back to the stadium and the game you're enjoying on CBS.
Thank you for your attention.
We're back at halftime at Rich Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, and the fans are very much in this ball game. They came to see whether the Buffalo Bills could upset the Dallas Cowboys and win their first game, and through 30 minutes of the game, they've done it. 7-3 they lead, and your remarks about the game so far. Surprise, for sure.
Well, it is a surprise, but I think the biggest challenge the Dallas Cowboys had coming into the game was to be mentally ready for the game. That's always, I don't care how much you talk about it, what you say about it, during the course of the week when you play a team that's never won a game all season long, it's tough to get ready, and I question whether or not the Dallas Cowboys were ready. Here was the very first play of the game, and Bell goes right off tackle to the left side. Good blocking by Jones and Vogler. The middle linebacker overruns the play, and Bell goes all the way over 85 yards, changes the scoreboard, gets 6 on the board, and they go ahead 7-0.
Now, don't you think, Hank, as we look at Bell complete that spectacular and stunning 85-yard touchdown run, that would wake the Dallas Cowboys up, and they proceeded to turn the ball over 3 times. Buffalo couldn't capitalize, but they didn't wake up after that run.
No, sometimes they're stunned. You have to, sometime when you're a better team, you have to be stunned to get back in a ball game. They were stunned, but they didn't react that way at all.
What quickly will make the difference in a game like this?
Well, I think in the second half, the Cowboys just have to be patient and do what they can do well, and that's their chance to get back in the game.
All right, Hank and I will be back to Rich Stadium for the second half of the Cowboys-Bills game in just a moment.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company. We're going to be there for you. And by Sears, where you'll find great value. There's more for your life at Sears.
Dick Stockton and Hank Stram back at Rich Stadium, 7-3 at halftime. New York Congressman Jack Kemp, the quarterback of Buffalo's AFL championship teams in 64 and 65, became the second player inducted into the Bills' all-time honor roll. There he is right up there with his number 15. The only other one, O.J. Simpson, and he was inducted in 1980. And of course, Jack Kemp drew a tremendous applause from the crowd, close to 80,000. We don't know what the no-show situation is, but they have been vehemently in favor of the Bills today, no question.
Sometimes when a guy like Jackie Kemp reaches a level of excellence and the recognition that he has, they forget maybe that he wasn't the great football player that he really was. He was super. He had a great arm. Look at the halftime stats.
You talked about how Buffalo had to run the ball, and they've done it so far.
Yes, they have, and I think they have to go back to that and be successful with it in the second half. And again, the big down is 1st and 10.
The turnover story, Dallas has turned it over 3 times to only 1 for Buffalo, and the time of possession favors the Cowboys. It's 7-3, Buffalo leads, but they're going to have to get a lot of the horseshoes going for them again in the second half and play a lot better.
And I think they can come up with a big play. I mentioned in the first half they never used it, but I think they can come up with a big play on some kind of a misdirection or reverse in the second half, because the Buffalo Bills are very, very aggressive in chasing everything they see.
Allen and McSwain are back for the Cowboys, and Chuck Nelson will kick off for the Buffalo Bills. Bills have lost 8 straight games here at Rich Stadium, 13 in a row overall. A year ago at this time, they were 7-4. Short kick, and Gary Allen at the 6-yard line returns it for the Cowboys. Fumble, loose ball. Dallas may have it. Let's wait and see, and they do at the 19-yard line. Close call for the Dallas Cowboys.
Here he makes the catch. Allen running down the right side between the numbers and the hash mark sideline. The ball is kicked out of there, knocked loose. It hits a player. It hits a player in the back, but the Dallas Cowboys recover the fumble, and they have possession 1st and 10 on the 19.
Brian Salonen was right there, 1st and 10 for the Cowboys, and Tony Dorsett on the first play is hit behind the line of scrimmage by Ken Johnson. And for an NFL Today report, here is Brent Musburger.
Dick, we've had a development in Chicago. The Lions have gone ahead. Danielson beautifully escapes trouble here. Gets the pass to Chadwick in the end zone, and of course if the Packers win and the Bears lose, there's only a 2-game difference in the NFC Central, but a long way still to go. Back to Dick.
That Central race could be something, and so could Tony Dorsett, who limps off the field. following the first carry of the second half. The Dorsett is shaken up, and that will bear watching. James Jones replaces him, number 23 in the lineup. Second down, 11 at the 19. Hogaboom will go to the air to Cosby. First down, Cosby, and out of bounds at the 31-yard line. Charles Romes makes the hit. Hogaboom played it in conservative fashion in the first half, Hank, with percentage plays, and it looks like he's starting off in the same fashion.
Yeah, they're not going to change the personality of the defense of the Buffalo Bills, and they're going to have to continue to throw the ball short and be patient, run the ball and throw it short. They hit Cosby on a crossing pattern that time against that zone, and again, the key, he had plenty of time to throw the ball.
Hogaboom, his first half numbers, percentage-wise, pretty good, but he was not especially sharp. First and 10 at the 31. And here is Jones carrying for the first time, and he gets a couple. Jim Haslett makes the tackle. James Jones coming back from injured reserve. This is the 4th week he has been back, and he caught his first NFL touchdown pass against the Cardinals last week. But a player is shaken up, and it appears to be Phil Posderick, the right tackle. And that would only add to the woes, Hank, the Cowboys have had in their offensive line. They lost Jim Cooper, and Pat Donovan retired earlier. Howard Richards now has been lost.
Well, you know, the funny thing about it, too, Herb Scott was supposed to be too injured to play guard. But when they finally got another player hurt, he had to go in and play left tackle, and he played wonderfully well last week against the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's amazing how well he's playing, considering the fact that he's been hurt so much.
Brian Baldinger may have to come in for him. It's a very thin offensive line situation, and they activated John Hunt this week. Well, the Louisville Cardinals and the Indiana Hoosiers live 1 o'clock Eastern as NCAA basketball returns to CBS next Saturday. Delray Brooks, we've mentioned him before, and you'll be hearing Billy Packer talk a lot more about him next week and in the career ahead. He's a highly touted freshman for the Indiana Hoosiers. As if Bobby Knight didn't need a lot more talent. People think that Indiana will be a big power this year, and of course Louisville under Denny Crum always is.
Buffalo Quarterback Club will meet tomorrow.
While we have a moment here and Posderick is on the turf, let's discuss, Hank, our conversation with Tom Landry. And of course, people talk about coaches, whether they're going to continue. There have been some rumors. Will Tom Landry hang them up after this year?
Well, we read in the paper last week that Tex Schramm said that Tom Landry in all probability would be the coach again next year and wanted to continue to coach. We asked that question of Tom yesterday in our meeting with him, and he kind of smiled and he said, well, I feel great and I enjoy coaching and I want to continue to coach. That's the way I feel today, getting ready for the Buffalo Bills. Now, you know, how you interpret that, I really don't know. He said he's ready today, but how will he feel after the season? We'll have to wait and see, I guess, but it wasn't anything definitive about really staying on again next year, was it?
He hedged. There's no question about it. And, you know, the one thing that Tom did tell us, he says, you know, I don't know if I want to go through another building process. And he said that the way the Cowboys are right now, he says they used to know they were going to come up with a big play late in the game and win. He says it's going to take a few years for the Cowboys to get back to where they have been in their vintage days.
And again, when you walked away from it, you scratched your head a little bit because you thought maybe we got a little tap dance from Tom because we didn't know really what his feelings were, except that he's very interested in coaching this week against the Buffalo Bills. Is that right?
That's right. And, you know, and maybe Alicia, his wife, is the only one that really knows what he's thinking down the line. Posderick is out of the ball game, and Brian Baldinger, number 62, is in there. So the Cowboys have 4 guards playing on the line right now. Second down and 8. Hogaboom getting some pressure, and the pass is complete. Tony Hill at the 27-yard line. Making the tackle is Brian Carpenter, who has 1 of 2 interceptions today. Tony Hill with his jersey askew going back into the huddle. He's been the big play receiver the last 6 years, but he's only caught 4 passes in the last 2 coming into this one. He was hurt early. 3rd and 3. Just under 13 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. 7-3. The Bills lead the Cowboys. Trying to pull a big upset here. Hogaboom's pass caught by Jones. First down and out of bounds at the 47-yard line. Darryl Talley knocked James Jones out of bounds. First down.
And the Buffalo Bills that time blitzed all three linebackers, but they did not blitz very aggressively, did not get any pressure on the quarterback. Watch them. Here they come again. They did not create any kind. Look at the linebackers coming. And it's kind of a deliberate blitz.
9-yard gain.
No rush whatsoever. He gets the ball out in good shape, and they have another first down.
We'll be watching to see what's going on the sidelines with Tony Dorsett, and now Dorsett has come back in the ball game, so we don't have to look there. Just look behind Hogaboom. First and 10 at the 47. Renfro in motion, and here is Tony. He was hit hard.
Dorsett carry.
Shy of midfield, Eugene Marv, who's known for hitting hard. We gained him a couple for Dorsett. While Dorsett has gained 100 yards in a game only once this year, he has a string going, Hank, of 6 straight 100-yard efforts against AFC East teams.
Well, that's quite an achievement when you hold him to under 100 yards, but I think really the big difference in the personality of the Dallas team this year has really been the fact that they really haven't thrown the ball nearly as well as they have in the past, and that's why they haven't run the ball nearly as well.
Second down and 8. The ball shy of midfield at the 49. Play action. Hogaboom. Pass. Knocked down nicely. Steve Freeman, the strong safety.
Working up by Freeman.
Watch again, the key, not much pressure. Even though they have a 4-man line this time, they don't get much pressure. Still has plenty of time to stay into the pocket. And watch what happens here. Steve Freeman, number 22, comes over and knocks the ball down.
Renfro was the intended receiver. He had gone in motion. Even though they didn't get good pressure, we saw Smerlis and Johnson with their hands up, and they've had success that way.
Yeah, that's right.
Third down and 8. Duriel Harris, who was signed this week, is in the lineup and going deep for Duriel Harris. Broken up, incomplete. Charles Romes and Don Wilson. Duriel Harris, 9-year veteran, signed by the Cowboys after he was waived by the Browns, and of course played most of his career with the Miami Dolphins in good quickness, and they were going to him deep.
You know, one thing that you have to be careful of, anytime that you're a big play team and a big play personality like the Dallas Cowboys, you have a tendency sometimes to not to be as patient as you should be when the defense is playing you soft. There was a great illustration. He still tried to throw the ball deep, even though there was double coverage downfield and there was a good chance the play was going to be intercepted.
Danny White will punt to Don Wilson, who combined to make that play. So Harris gets his first taste of Cowboy action. Dallas waived Harold Carmichael, the veteran, this week. Good high kick. Wilson fields the punt and is tackled at the 14-yard line. 38-yard punt, but that's not the story. Danny White has hemmed the Buffalo Bills inside their 15. Stram back at Rich Stadium in Orchard Park, and the Bills will get their chance again, but inside the 15. First and 10 at the 14-yard line. See what they do. Greg Bell, you talk about the running game. He's gained 103 yards and 10 carries in the first half. He's in the backfield with Booker Moore. Play action, though, on first down. And here's Bell as the receiver. Picks up 8 yards on the play. Lockhart and Dickerson combined to make the play on Greg Bell.
Well, the defense of the Dallas Cowboys is not really paying much attention to that play-action fake. The defensive backs hurried back into their zones that time, very, very deep, and the only place you could throw the ball was in front of the linebackers and between them, and that's what they did that time, faking to the Greg Bell and then throwing the ball to him between the linebackers.
Second down and 2. Here's Bell. Fights his way for the first down to the 27-yard line. Ed Jones making the tackle. We talked to Kay Stevenson about Greg Bell, and of course he's been impressive as a rusher, and of course he's 7th in total yards per scrimmage, but still Stevenson said that he is not quite the complete player yet, but as a rookie he's doing a terrific job.
Yeah, I think, you know, for a first-year player, and especially after losing a guy like Cribbs, why they expected an awful lot from this young guy, and he hasn't had an opportunity to run the ball that much, probably about 10 times a game. If they have an opportunity to run him more, I think he's going to be much, much more effective.
But when you're behind, it's hard to run him.
That's right.
First and 10 at the 27-yard line. Ferguson under deep pressure. Pass incomplete, intended for Tony Hunter, the tight end. Ferguson was getting a lot of heat from the Dallas line right there. John Dutton in particular.
Pass intended for Hunter. Incomplete.
You talk about Joe Cribbs. When you lose the likes of a Joe Cribbs, Butler, Lewis, Jim Kelly, the quarterback to the USFL, that's a lot of firepower on offense.
Big play people, and that's what hurts, you know. And talking about big play people, Randy White made an interesting observation. We'll come back to that in just a moment.
2nd down and 10. Ferguson's numbers aren't impressive. He's been under siege, but the name of the game is win, and the Bills are winning 7-3. Rolling out and being chased. Good block, and the pass is thrown out of bounds. He was going for Tony Hunter. Incomplete. You were talking about Randy White, Hank.
Yeah, he made a remark. He said, this is not an egotistical or prima donna football team anymore. All of that individual stuff is gone. We finally wiped it all out, which means that he felt that in the past they were kind of a prima donna team. And now, after that win last week, I think he felt that they kind of gathered together, and they didn't care who did what. The only thing was important is winning the game. But they haven't played like that this afternoon, have they?
Phil Pozderac, who, by the way, has a twisted knee, and he is going to be out of action the rest of the game. So the woes mount for the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. Mitchell Brookins, number 81, is in as a 3rd wide receiver. Out of the shotgun, 3rd and 10 at the 27. The pass intended for Preston Denard, and Ron Fellows was defending on the play, but a terrific safety blitz by Bill Bates in the Cowboys 4-0 defense, and Bates plays the linebacker position in that one.
Ron Fellows, 27, responded very well to the ball that was thrown and knocked it down.
Penalty marker thrown.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 40. Defense.
Bill Bates. It'll be an automatic 1st down, so Bates was a little bit overzealous on that play, on that safety blitz. And that will give the Bills new life. They'll keep the ball, and it'll be a 1st down. 15 yards, and they'll mark it at the 42-yard line. 10 minutes and 2 seconds remain in the 3rd quarter. Kay Stevenson's Bills 0-11, hanging on to a 7-3 lead over the 7-4 Dallas Cowboys. Rob Riddick is in the backfield. Ferguson's pass is caught by Byron Franklin, short of midfield. At the 49, Eugene Lockhart makes the hit, and a gain of about 5 on the play.
That was a time pattern that time. He got rid of the ball very quickly. Hunter, the tight end, Tony Hunter, who come into the game with 19 catches, missed several games because of a back injury, but he's an outstanding player. They tried to lick him deep that time, but he couldn't get deep, and they wound up throwing the ball to the secondary receiver, Byron Franklin.
Hunter has caught 7 passes in the last 2 games. He's joined by Mark Bramer at tight end. Greg Bell is the single back. 2nd down and 3 at the 49. Here is Bell with Ken Jones blocking. And Bell is stopped at the 50, so it'll be 3rd down and 2. Randy White and Anthony Dickerson prevented the 1st down by Greg Bell, so it'll be 3rd and short for the Buffalo Bills, and they bring in Rob Riddick and the 3rd wide receiver, Mitchell Brookins. Cowboys come in with Don Smerick in their 4-0 defense.
The last time they were in this situation, they tried to go deep and tried to get the big play on 3rd and short. Let's see what they elect to do here. They're in the shotgun.
Ferguson has had a terrible time with the passing percentage in this game. Ferguson's pass almost picked off. Ron Fellows defending. Preston Denard was the intended receiver, and Fellows came close to picking it off.
He really did. Mark Bramer that time on the delayed pattern was really wide open near the numbers, but he never saw him. It looked like he made up his mind he was going to throw the ball outside and didn't take a look at anybody else at all.
So it'll be 4th down, and John Kidd will be in to punt once again, and he has been terrific in that department.
You know, either one of these teams have been very proficient all season long on 3rd down situations, converting the 3rd down. They're about 31, 33% which is not very good. And if you don't convert on third downs, boy, you have a hard time moving the football.
It will punt. Gary Allen is back at the 10-yard line with 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. Good high kick, and Allen is going to let the ball bounce. It goes into the end zone for a touchback. Dallas will have the ball again, and the question is, how long can Buffalo's defense hold off the Dallas Cowboys? They've done it so far. Occurred on the very first play when Greg Bell scampered 85 yards for a touchdown, and the Buffalo Bills have led all the way. They're up 7-3, but the Dallas Cowboys have 1st and 10 on their 20. Gary Hogeboom, the quarterback, and Tony Dorsett finds a hole off the left side and slices through and gets a 1st down and more. Out of bounds at the 31-yard line. Steve Freeman made the tackle. Picked his spot really well to Tony Dorsett.
Good blocking at the point of attack. Cosby, number 84. They double team the defensive end, number 91, Johnson. Create a hole, and Marv, number 54, misses the tackle. He's finally knocked out of bounds by Don Wilson, but he makes a nice gain in the play.
Dorsett, 58 yards so far. 1st and 10 at the 31. Hogeboom being chased by 3 white shirts, completes to Timmy Newsome, another 1st down. And the momentum brings him into Buffalo territory at the 49-yard line. Charles Romes and Rod Cush make the stop. Good for 20 yards.
Watch the guards pull to the right. Look at they. One goes right, the other one goes left to protect for Hogeboom. And they throw back in the middle area to Timmy Newsom. Look at Timmy lower the shoulders and go right through the pile and come out the other end. Nice running on his part. He got about 4 extra yards with that good effort.
1st and 10 for the Cowboys on the Buffalo 49. 7.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Dorsett hit at the line, and a good play by Chris Keating. Right now, for an NFL Today report, here is Brent Musburg.
Well, Dick, the Packers are on a roll and moving toward that Thanksgiving Day showdown here on CBS against the Detroit Lions. That is Eddie Lee Ivory's 3rd touchdown. They're pounding the Rams 24-6. Let's go back to Dick.
All right, Brent, and maybe that Central Division race, Hank, is going to turn into something after all.
It could be, because the Green Bay Packers are hot. Boy, they got the firepower to make things happen, and they've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, the Bears better not start looking over their shoulder. They may find someone following. 2nd down and 11. Hogeboom's pass in a crowd, but caught at the Buffalo 45 by Doug Cosby, the tight end. Gain of about 4.5 on the play. Other scores around the league. Seattle having a terrific year, leading Cincinnati, Cleveland over Atlanta. The score that Brent just talked about, the Packers rolling it up on the Rams, and the Lions leading the Bears. And that Bears watching. They're in the 4th quarter in Soldier Field. 3rd down and 7. So if the Bills want to short circuit the Cowboys, this has got to be the down they do it on. Hogeboom's pass dropped. Cosby was in 1st down territory, and he was hit and could not hold on to the ball.
They were blitzing on the play that time. Rones was coming. Marv was coming. They put good pressure on him, but he made him throw the ball, but still he threw it right on the money. It should have been caught.
Steve Freeman defending. It'll be 4th down, and Danny White will kick. Wilson will go back for the Bills. Wilson 5th in the conference in punt returns, and of course Danny White been doing double duty when he's been at quarterback. Tough one to handle. Wilson calls a fair catch at the 18-yard line.
Fair catch by Wilson.
So exactly 6 minutes remain in the third quarter. The Bills will take over, and they still lead. It's Greg Bell's 85-yard touchdown run on the first play from scrimmage. The Bills have gained only 83 yards in total offense. They have a 1st and 10 on the 19. Still lead 7-3, depending on their defense today. Here's Greg Bell. Bell gets beyond the 20, where Andy White makes the tackle. Let's check some scores for you. New England leading Indianapolis.
Third quarter score, Giants 9.
Andre Waters, an 89-yard kickoff return for a touchdown to give the Eagles the lead, Hank.
And they're playing good football. The Giants 9-7 over St. Louis in the fourth quarter.
Haji Sheik, 3 field goals.
And Detroit 14-13 in the fourth quarter. And look at Seattle still winning 17-6 Cincinnati in the third quarter.
Second down and 7 for Buffalo on the 22. Mark Kramer in motion. Draw play to Bell. Finds a hole and brings it up close to a first down. Will make it to the 26-yard line. Brent Musburger with an NFL Today report.
Dick, we got a development in Philadelphia, and the Redskins had just kicked a field goal. They kicked it off to Waters. He's the rookie from Cheney State. He found an alley and went the distance for an Eagle touchdown. 89 yards on the return, and the Eagles are ahead of the Washington Redskins, 16-10. Back to Dick.
All right, Brent. Well, we just told you about Waters' kickoff return, and then you had a chance to see it.
One thing about the league, it's very predictable, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And if you believe that, we got a couple of bridges to sell people.
Yeah.
Third down and 3 at the 25-yard line. Ferguson has some time. Running away. Defender slips, and he overthrows Mark Kramer with Clinkscale covering on the play. Jeffcoat fell down, and now Ferguson is complaining to the official about something. It'll be fourth down and John Kidd coming in to punt. It's been a rough day for Ferguson. He really has not been on the mark, Henry.
No, he really hasn't been. It looks like he's just a little bit off timing, trying to get rid of the ball sometimes a little bit sooner than he should, and sometimes he hangs on a little longer than he should. He's just in between. He's just not